Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Eric Harms, and I'm the chair of the Council on Southeast Asian Studies and a professor of anthropology here at Yale. I'm honored and humbled to have the privilege of introducing Kyaw Moe Tun, the permanent representative of Myanmar to the United Nations, who will be delivering the George Herbert Walker Jr. lecture today. I'd also like to take this moment to thank the staff of the Macmillan Center for supporting this event and to directly thank the George Herbert Walker Jr. Lecture Selection Committee for supporting our efforts to bring Kyaw Moe Tun here to Yale. I also want to thank the staff of the Council on Southeast Asian Studies and our postdoctoral fellows from Myanmar who are visiting scholars from Myanmar. Their courage in the face of the many atrocities carried out by the illegal regime in Myanmar continuously inspire me, and their contributions to the academic life of Yale are truly immeasurable. They often thank me for bringing them here, but I want to really pause right now and thank them for being here with us and adding to our community at Yale. So just thank you very much. So now let me say a few words about Kyaw Moe Tun and why his presence with us today is so important. Less than a month after the coup of February 2021, Kyaw Moe Tun bravely gave a speech at the UN General Assembly denouncing the illegality of the coup and condemning the actions of the military junta. He spoke bravely and openly in support of the emerging civil disobedience movement, and he called for international assistance to support the people of Myanmar. Emphasizing the gravity of the moment, he ended the speech with the three-finger salute, which has become a symbol of resistance to authoritarianism across Southeast Asia, and which I hold up now in solidarity. I just want to pause and recognize the power of this symbol and the power of the gesture that Kyaw Moe Tun made at that moment with great risk to his own safety. A day after Kyaw Moe Tun's speech, the illegal junta announced that they were firing him. However, the Credentials Committee of the UN decided to retain him as the permanent representative of Myanmar to the UN, a move which clearly rejected the legitimacy of the regime behind the coup. Because the military regime is illegal, they had no legal standing to fire him. Clearly, it is Kyaw Moe Tun who represents the people of Myanmar at the UN, not the junta. Since that time, he has faced harassment from the illegal junta and even threats to his safety. Despite the risks he has faced, Kyaw Moe Tun has tirelessly used his position within the UN to advocate for the people of Myanmar, consistently raising awareness about the need they have for immediate and decisive action from the international community in the face of the junta's continued atrocities and violations of international law. The situation, though, remains grave. According to the UNHCR, reporting as of September 2024, more than 5,000 civilians have been killed and more than 3.3 million people of all ethnicities across Myanmar have been displaced since the coup. Nearly 30,000 people have been arrested for political purposes, with reports of over 1,800 people dying in custody after abuse, ill treatment, and torture. Rohingya Muslims continue to be targeted by the military, and the ICC in The Hague has issued a warrant, an arrest warrant for crimes against humanity for the junta's leader, whose name I will not do the dignity of saying right now. Today is the eve of the 4th anniversary of the illegal coup in Myanmar. In fact, it is already after 1:30 a.m. on February 1st in Myanmar's time zone. I believe that it's important to pause at this profound moment and recognize the struggle of the people in a multi-ethnic country which remains largely overlooked by international communities. And this is the work that Kyaw Moe Tun has been doing. And I hope that his lecture today can offer a moment of consciousness raising that leads to concrete action. Here in Yale's Council on Southeast Asian Studies, we've been trying to do our small part. We've been trying to support our colleagues through small-scale efforts to host at-risk scholars, provide mentorship programs for young scholars who have lost educational opportunities, course sharing initiatives, and other things within our capacity as an academic institution. But we remain aware that so much more work needs to be done, and we stand grateful to brave leaders like Kyaw Moe Tun, who have been standing up for human rights and democracy in the face of grave threats to his own safety. So please join me in welcoming Kyaw Moe Tun, the permanent representative of the people of Myanmar, to the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric, for your introduction and very encouraging words for all of us. Good afternoon. I'm really honored to join this public lecture. I thank Yale Macmillan Center, the Council of Southeast Asia Studies at Yale University, in particular Professor Stephen Wilkinson, Professor Eric Harms, and Dr. David Moe, for their kind invitations, as well as their respective team for organizing this event. It is a privilege to speak before you all and share insights about the critical situation in my beloved country, Myanmar, Burma. Today's event is so much timely. Tomorrow, actually, that Eric already mentioned, it's already 1st February in my country. The illegal military coup attempted 4 years now. Last 4 years, every day is misery. Misery for people of Myanmar. People are living with fear. No one feels safe and secure. Today's my talks were features on remembering the forgotten Myanmar-Burma revolution. What came next after 4 years? First, I will talk about experiences that people went through last 4 years. And second, I will touch on the role of international community, including the United Nations and the ASEAN. Third, I will inform you of the future of Myanmar. We aim. Fourth and lastly, the expectation of Myanmar people from the international community. So let me start with the people's experiences in last 4 years. Our country, Myanmar, Burma, and its people endure tremendous suffering every day due to the atrocities committed by the military junta since the illegal coup. Since then, the political instability, security, economic prosperity, humanitarian situations, and human rights conditions in Myanmar have fallen drastic, short of international standards. Over 28,000 people were arbitrarily arrested. More than 21,000 people are still detained, including our leaders, Aung San Suu Kyi and President U Win Myint. Numerous reports have indicated that the nation is plunged into a deepening humanitarian and human rights crisis. Over 3.5 million people are being displaced. Almost 20 million people are in need of humanitarian assistance. More than 100,000 private properties were destroyed or burned out by the military junta. Nowadays, facing extreme protection risk, lack of rule of law, acute food insecurity, the near collapse of critical public services, and economic shock driving inflation and resulting in loss of livelihoods have become the common challenges of the people living in Myanmar. Despite this alarming escalation of this dire situation, the perpetrating military junta never ceased its ambitions and action to commit heinous crimes, crimes against humanity, war crimes against the civilians, and continue to escalate the campaign of terror against all civilians across the country. As you all are aware, the launching of indiscriminate area bombings on the civilian population, touching villages, mass killing of civilians, arbitrary arrest and detention, torture and violations in forms of sexual and gender-based forced conscriptions, and other transnational organized crimes had been the egregious violations committed by the military junta on a daily basis. Even the start of a new year, this year, has not spared our people from tragedy of loss. Just during the first week of January, we witnessed the junta attacking with airstrikes and drones on civilians at least 5 regions and states and killing at least 20 innocent civilians, including women and children. Additionally, the imposition of forced conscriptions has emerged as a pressing danger to every household in Myanmar, as the military junta and its associates are unlawfully apprehending individuals in public spaces regardless of genders and age. It is indeed eventually creating a human shield by the military junta. As mentioned, no one is safe across Myanmar, particularly for the youth. Moreover, during the coup, due to the complete destroy of rule of law and correction by the military junta, Myanmar became a safe haven for transnational organized crimes, including online scams. It has significant impact on the regional peace and security. But on a positive note, the people's revolution in Myanmar is moving in the right direction and towards achieving our common goal, ending the military dictatorship and building a federal democratic union. The people of Myanmar are so determined, despite so little help from the outside international community. You may ask why. The people of Myanmar now know more than others what it's like living under an oppressive military dictatorship. That is why people of Myanmar across age, gender, and ethnic lines have come out against illegal military coup in the millions never seen before. Without a doubt, we are committed to exerting pressures on the military juntas through military, legal, financial, and diplomatic ways to make perpetrators change their course of action. I am proud to say that our revolutions started from the people. It is homegrown and people-centered revolution. Now, our revolutionary forces has significantly expanded their territory control in Myanmar, making a notable increase in the ground they have gained. According to the National Unity Government's Ministry of Defense, 44% of the country's townships are under the control of revolutionary forces, ethnic resistance organizations, and people defense forces. 24% are active conflict zones, and 32% remain under the junta's control, but they are decreasing. Most importantly, revolutionary forces control key routes of communications, transportation, and trading posts, including border towns with Bangladesh, China, India, and Thailand. At this point, we are standing at an important juncture where we are required effective actions and decisions from the international community. So let me turn to my second point, the role of international community, including the United Nations and the ASEAN. The role of international community is important more than ever. Let me start with the UN. The UN can play a very important role in finding lasting peace in Myanmar. To the military junta in Myanmar, public condemnations and denunciation statements do not mean anything. The United Nations organs, including General Assembly, the Security Council, and the Human Rights Council, have done so a number of times since the coup in their statements and resolutions. But with no binding enforcement, they do not achieve much in changing the country's situations and saving people's life. Again, I repeat, saving people's life. What we need is enforceable concrete actions from the UN and individual member states. UN Security Council has a number of enforcement tools available at its disposal to prevent the civilian populations from further military atrocities. Council adopted a resolution 2669 in December 2022. This was the first such resolution regarding Myanmar by the Security Council. The resolution included a number of calls and demands, particularly the end of violence, release of all arbitrarily detainees, and the implementations of ASEAN 5-point plan, among others. But it is not enforceable resolution, no implementations of the provisions of resolution at all until now. What we need is action, specifically the impositions of an arms embargo to stop weapons flow to the junta, sanctions on jet fuel to stop flying of the junta's fighter jets and helicopters, targeted economic sanctions to stop money flow, forceful demand to remove the military blockage of humanitarian access, and ending impunity either by referring the situation to the International Criminal Court or by establishing a criminal tribunal. Member states always pointed out that the role of regional organization, in this case, ASEAN. ASEAN 5-point consensus on Myanmar was adopted in April 2021. Everybody knows there is no real progress on the implementations of 5-point consensus. It is obvious ASEAN alone cannot find a sustainable solution on the crisis of Myanmar. With Malaysia's chairmanship of ASEAN, we hope that the people will see light at the end of the tunnel. Therefore, member states that support democratic forces are vital and should have more coordinated efforts to impose targeted sanctions to help the people by providing materials and financial support. It is indeed requires serious attention from the international community. It's needed to address the issue. Many people pointed out that Myanmar issue is frequently and conveniently ignored at the international arena by the international community. Yes, it is true. Therefore, I mention again and again that the people of Myanmar are very frustrated with lack of effective actions from the UN, especially the UN Security Council, continue with lack of serious attention from the international community and lack of coherence within the UN systems. The lack of effective action from the UN Security Council, I did mention yesterday at the UN Security Council media stakeout. So it's come to my third point. the future we aim. The ultimate goal of our people is to live in a free, peaceful, inclusive, just and democratic society. I can certainly say that there is a broad agreement among ourselves that the system to build such a society in Myanmar is through the government system of federalism and democracy. Given our diversity of ethnic people, self-governance and equality for all have to be upheld. We need such a system that is supported and sustained by effective, inclusive, accountable, security, and justice institutions. The biggest and immediate obstacles to the sustainable future of Myanmar is the brutal military dictatorship. The contrary to some misinformed views regarding the military's role, it is not the military that is holding the country together. In fact, it is this unaccountable lawless military that is holding back the country from achieving a democratic future. Therefore, the first steps towards lasting peace in Myanmar is to eliminate the military dictatorship. This is the root cause of the crisis. Of course, we need a military, but not in the current military type and the institution. We must have a professional and accountable military subject to democratic civilian oversight. That will be a critical part of federal democratic governance system that the people of Myanmar have been pursuing. The question is, what is the way forward? As a diplomat, I believe in engagement. A sustainable solution can only be found via a dialogue, meaningful dialogue. We need to create a conducive environment. Any process for future Myanmar must be Myanmar-owned and Myanmar-led one. The defining feature of this process must include assurances of no involvement of military in politics of future Myanmar. When we are talking about our future and sustainable solution for Myanmar, the issue of Rohingya must be a part of the whole solution. That NUG's policy position on Rohingya is a significant step, but we need to build on it towards a sustainable solution, including repatriation of Rohingya people in a safe, voluntary, and dignified manner. To prevent any recurrence of atrocities in the future, we need to make sure that the culture of immunity ended. An accountable mechanism must be in place. It must be in place. So it's bring me to my fourth and last point, the expectation of Myanmar people from the international community. Clearly, the people of Myanmar need help from the international community. Though our revolution is homegrown, people-centered, and people-oriented one. We need coordinated, concrete actions both from the UN Security Councils and member states of the United Nations. Our position is quite straightforward. If the international community does not help save innocent civilians from the military's atrocities, the least they can do is not to enable the military to continue to commit such atrocities. A number of countries have imposed targeted sanctions against the military junta to limit the inflows and foreign currency flows. We are urging more countries to do the same, and at least they cooperate with those countries who impose targeted sanctions. Let me be more specific. Currently, Myanmar people, the elected government, and anti-junta resistant forces need 4 types of concrete support from the international community in order to start a genuine transition to a peaceful, just, inclusive, and democratic society. 1, help us build our capability to end military dictatorship and provide military aid, political, and diplomatic support. Provide technical support and expertise for NUG, People's Defense Forces, People's Defense Forces administrative structures, as well as EROs in the area under their control. 2, provide humanitarian aid directly to those in need through all available channels, including cross-border assistance, in a sustainable and predictable manner. 3, support us by weakening the military ability to commit further atrocities, cut money, weapons, and jet fuel flows to the military junta. 4, stop the junta's attempt to gain legitimacy, including by rejecting the junta's sham elections. Of course, in the post-coup future, we need support from the international community, both financial and capacity building support, to firmly establish the federal democratic governance underpinned by the rule of law institutions and build strong market economy. I wish to end by stressing that Myanmar issues remain pivotal, not only to the neighboring and regional countries, but also to all members of the international community. We want all our partners and supporters to be part of the solution. Peace and justice must prevail. I thank you so much for your kind attention.